everyone, and welcome to day 16 of our 31-day minimalism challenge. Happy to have you back. I've been seeing a lot of videos pop up recently. The first was from Matt D'Avella, who is the filmmaker for The Minimalist. He helped produce the 2 documentaries that they have out. I saw him post something several weeks ago now, and it was about minimalism being a trend. Like, is it dead now? Is it over? Just to start, I wanted to say that to me, minimalism isn't a trend. It never was a trend that would simply go away because it's been around for so long. I was reminded of Buddhism. Let me preface this video by stating I am not claiming to be an expert on Buddhism. I don't consider myself one who practices Buddhism, but I do believe a lot of the Buddhist ideology. I believe strongly that it leads to a happier life. I find a lot of value in the way that they think. So I wanted to start by saying that so that no one comes at me. If I get anything wrong, I apologize. I only want to talk about this briefly about how I think that minimalism has been around for so long because at the bare bones of it all, Buddhism and minimalism actually have so many similar characteristics, similar ideologies, similar values. And while you can be a minimalist and not be a Buddhist, obviously, I would argue that most Buddhists are minimalist just by default because of the way that they think. And it's so important to understand the theories behind minimalism. As I've stated multiple times, how important it is to really try to understand your values and what's essential to your life. And the only way to do that is not to read a book, is not to listen to a YouTube video. It's to really look inside yourself. And as cliche as it sounds, it's spending time with yourself. It's journaling. It's thinking out loud so that you can start to strip away the layers, the barriers that you've created all these years that are prohibiting you from truly seeing what you love in life. To get back on track here, the Buddha had a comfortable life, but he couldn't help but notice all of the people around him that were suffering, and it weighed on his heart heavily. So he ended up actually leaving his wealth behind, even his family behind, to search for some sort of enlightenment. After years of practicing and learning from teachers along the way, at the age of 35, the Buddha had gained enlightenment. He spent the rest of his life teaching this idea of the middle path, which I find very interesting in how it relates to minimalism. The middle path basically deals with the avoidance of the 2 extremes in life. On one side, we have the overindulgence, the excessive consumerism, and then on the other, we have the severe asceticism. Overindulgence, according to Buddha, is about having attachments to people, to things. It becomes a habit very quickly. Asceticism, on the other hand, doesn't serve much purpose to us because really all that's doing is unnecessarily suppressing what we truly want. And it's not deepening your knowledge of yourself, the inner knowledge of who you truly are. It doesn't provide you with a more well thought out, purposeful life because all you're doing is just arbitrarily preventing yourself from having anything that brings you joy. Minimalism is very similar to me, in my opinion, to this middle path concept. It's about finding that balance that we've been talking about throughout these videos, that to understand what's essential to you, what's valuable to you, what brings you joy. That's how you get a purposeful, balanced life. I think it's true that we can all agree that the more we consume, the more we have to worry about. It doesn't take long before our things start to own us. And all that it leads you to is a feeling of emptiness. Those things are not buying you happiness. And at some point, you're going to notice, how much more can I buy in order to feel happy? According to Buddhism, happiness is limitless, provided that we stick to the basic concept that we are true to our needs and desires, and we act with intention, knowing our needs and desires. Being present in the moment, being grateful for what you have, those are the things that help us understand what we truly need. The Buddhists believe in this theory of non-attachment, which is just completely avoiding being being attached to our belongings, to our status, those things will not make you more secure. If you are detached to these things instead, you are freeing your mind from all of the bad negative experiences that come along with attachment. Instead, they promote contentment. And I'll have to be honest with you, before I really came into learning more about minimalism, I had this idea in my mind that contentment was negative. It was more of a complacency. Contentment meant that you were lazy, that you had no goals, that you didn't have a purpose in your life, that you were just happy with just being the way you were. I realize now that is absolutely not what contentment means. And instead, it's about really having that peace and calmness about you that stems directly from being just so grateful for what you do have. If you are always focusing on what you don't have, you're only going to be miserable. And it's even harder today than ever to really wrap your head around being content, because like I said, from an early age, we are shown that it is not okay to be content, that you always need to be buying something bigger, better, faster, stronger. And so we're always left feeling somewhat inadequate. The Buddha said, contentment is the greatest wealth of all. It helps you overcome desire and, I think, even envy and restlessness and self-doubt that often are what leads to our misery. Buddhists believe that things and possessions are transitory. And once you realize that and you engage with your things more consciously, knowing that it's transitory, you can live a happier life because of that. We can make videos all day long about how to be a minimalist and how to live a more simple life, but it's difficult. In our consumer-driven culture, this idea of a Buddhist or minimalistic lifestyle can be very difficult and can almost seem impossible to obtain. But as we've always stated, there are so many different definitions of minimalism. It can be defined however you want it to be. But understanding just the bare basics of it all can help you create the life that we're talking about here. But ideologically, Buddhism and minimalism believe the same concepts, which less is more. And if you start to live a more practical, a more simple, and a more intentional life, you will be led to a life with more freedom, which in my mind is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And it's ultimately what I'm striving for. And with excessive consumerism and not being intentional with your time, with your money, with your resources, with the people that you love, it's quite honestly really, really, really hard to obtain that life that you want. So I hope you found this video useful to you. Please join me back here tomorrow for day 17. Until then, don't forget, always keep it simple. Bye, guys.
Go!